What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Golden Peas. We've been talking about this for far too long. Started back in October, really, when I did the preliminary ballots. I got them out there. We're about to get into the broadcast. Some of what you're going to see tonight is pre-recorded. I'm going to be rolling that footage. Myself, Gerald here with you, and my co-host, Bryan Loy Sauce, will also be active in the chat all night long. I did prepare a script for this little intro part that I want to go through real quick. It's only going to be a minute or two, but I didn't want to forget to thank a couple people before I start the actual broadcast of the Golden Peas. Let me go through that. My heart's beating a little fast. I don't know why. All you guys are my friends. We're all friends here. Let me get through this real quick. Film is an art form that has changed and enhanced my life. I often look to the storytellers and actors in Hollywood to express certain emotions and depth of feelings that I may not often get in my own routine life. For much of us, cinema is an escape from the real world. It is a glimpse into the otherworldly, or sometimes a picturesque retelling of some of our most beloved icons. I put on the Golden Pea Awards every year, honestly, because I love movies so much. There is no other feeling in the world than the emotion, comedy, or plain old education that can be handed down from a well-crafted cinematic experience. I want to thank each and every person who filled out not only a preliminary ballot to come up with tonight's nominees, but also all of you who voted this year to ultimately choose these winners that you're going to see tonight. A very special thank you to a few people, especially Bryan Loy, Dan Brennick, Justin Esquivel, my lovely and endlessly supportive wife, Jaime. Without this group of folks, this production would not be happening right now. I also want to thank the presenters that you will be seeing during our broadcast. And the fact that they gave their time to be a part of this event truly means the world to me. And a quick shout out as well to my friends Nicole Ackman and JD Duran for hosting my nomination special back in January, which got this whole thing started on YouTube. I'd like to take a quick second to ask everyone that's watching, and even if you're watching this in the future and not live, press the little thumbs up like button at the bottom, because that will get me seen in the ever infamous YouTube algorithm. And if you would also consider subscribing if you're not already, that would mean the world to me. Now we're going to start the broadcast after this quick tribute edit that some of you may have seen. I put together for the year in film and a short intro. My co-host Bryan Loy Sauce and I will be back to meet you on the other side, and we will go through the Golden Peas Movie Awards together. Both Bryan and I will be active in the YouTube chat tonight, and I will be here to see all of your comments as we react to these winners. Some surprises tonight, some expected winners tonight, but just remember we are here celebrating the year in film, and I will continue to put this on as long as an audience is there for it. Please enjoy this year's Golden Peas, and I will see you on the flip side. That's the script that I wrote, guys. I assume everybody can hear me. Let me find out real quick. Dan is my admin in the chat. Making sure everybody can hear me. I think so. Guys, enjoy the Golden Peas. I'm going to start the broadcast here, and I will be over in the chat seeing what you guys have to say. Hope this works.
If you could go anywhere in the whole world, where would you go?
I always wanted to be part of something bigger.
Movies are dreams that you never forget.
Why does love, the absence of love, the end of love, the need for love result in so much violence? Why do you want to hunt? Because you all think that I can't.
Who wants to play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Very busy today. No time to help you. film. This is just static frames with darkness in between.
Welcome to the 2023 Golden Peas Movie Awards, with appearances by Matt Neglia, Justin Esquivel, Emily Higgins, David Rosen, Brad Hargis, Imran Javed, and Logan Morris, featuring your hosts, Gerald Morris and Bryan Loy Sauce.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2023 Golden Peas Movie Awards. I am obviously thrilled that you tuned in, whether you're watching this live as it's being broadcast or whether you tuned in later. We are here to celebrate the year in film, the year of 2022 at the movies. And I do this every year. I did take a break last year because the podcast was on hiatus last year around this time. But every other year I've done the Golden Peas, and often, I think this is our third or fourth year. I can't remember. I should have looked that up. But it's at
You don't know?
It's at least our third year, right, Bryan? What is it?
That sounds right, Gerald, but you'd be the authority.
I know. I need to fact check myself already in the intro. But Bryan Loy Sauce is here, the god of podcasting himself. And like I said, I believe this is his third time joining me as my co-host for the Golden Peas. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm dandy. Thank you for asking. And it's such an honor to be asked to co-host this prestigious event. I hold the Golden Peas in higher regard than the Academy Awards. So pleased to be here. And I'm excited.
Well, that means a lot. That means a lot. I don't know that we're quite on that level, but I will tell you something. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Golden Peas here at the top, just to let everybody know that might be hearing about this for the first time, as obviously I have a lot more listeners and fans since the last time you and I did this. But I will tell you something. So when I put out the ballot this year and everybody voted, we got like 330 ballots returned back. And when we did it 2 years ago, it was only like 120. So
damn.
Yeah, we did get a lot more ballots turned in this year. A lot more people, went to the site this year to like look up the nominees and stuff. So back in 2000, awesome. Yes, it's great, man. It really means a lot to me. Everybody that did vote and that looked up the Golden Peas and everything, it means a lot to me because a lot goes into it, producing it and stuff pretty much by myself. And Loy Sauce is amazing to come in here and have somebody to talk to about it. I had Nicole and JD on when we announced nominations, and they were great to be a part of it. And then we're going to have a lot of great presenters tonight too that are going to give away the awards in 7 different categories. So back in 2016, when me and my ex-partner on the podcast, Andy, started the show, we did Golden Peas kind of like as a fun play on words. But it was similarly an award show where we just kind of recognize our favorite things of the year. It wasn't all movies. It was kind of all over the spectrum. And then after those first couple years, it kind of started getting to where it was really movie focused. And that's when I brought Loy Sauce into the mix. And we did it in a podcast format the first couple years. And this is the first time we're doing it as a podcast, but also as a YouTube video, as I've been trying to increase my YouTube presence as of late. And of course, everybody wants to see Loy Sauce on camera. So I can't keep that from them. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that, but you have been killing the YouTube game lately. I'm going to be seeing Creed 3 later tonight, and I watched your review, and kudos to you on that. I wish I had your drive and dedication and just innate talent to be able to produce YouTube content.
Thanks, man.
I've been really enjoying it. Yeah.
That's so sweet, man. I really appreciate it. I do love creating, and there's few things I love in the pop culture zeitgeist as much as I love film and movies. Loy Sauce, I know you're really close to it as well, previously with your days with Epic Film Guys, and you work in a movie house, and I know that you're really a lover of cinema as well. So we get together every year, and we basically just honor the year in film. So I'll segue to that. I'll segue to kind of like our quote-unquote report card for 2022, or what you want to say about the year in film. I'll let you go first. I mean, what were your general thoughts about this past year at the movies?
Well, I'm often asked the question. I was every year when I'm on the Meanwhile at the podcast talking about my favorite films of the year. I'm always asked the question, was it a good year for film? And my response is, it's always a good year for film.
Yep.
Yep. So, I mean, I will say this. It's very rare when a particular film comes along that completely just captures the zeitgeist, completely, it takes you by surprise. And the film I'm talking about in particular is not only like a defining film of the year, it's really a defining film for me in general. And that would be Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't mean to bury the lead here, but absolutely my favorite film of the year. And it's sweeping in terms of the smaller award shows, SAG Awards, Golden Globes, etc. It's getting recognition, and it's this weird, scrappy little film that just is. It's just chugging along. So it's the little movie that could. And that stands out for me this year. But also we've got, an unbelievable amount of smaller horror films that are also just completely crushing it, dominating the market. And I think, and I hope we're going to be seeing a lot more films like it, because studios have finally discovered that if you have an idea and you execute it in a way that, reaches an audience, you're going to see some big dividends. And so horror was definitely the champion this year, for sure.
I agree. In fact, it's funny. We didn't talk about this up front, guys. Him and I didn't collaborate before I pressed record here, but you said the exact two things that I really wanted to focus on.
We did not
in this part of the discussion.
Yeah, we did not share notes. We did not consult about this.
So eye to eye, man. But one thing I'll just add about Everything Everywhere in particular is, and I've said this in previous prediction videos I've done on my YouTube channel for the Oscars and stuff like that, is I feel like, if there was one movie to represent the year in film, that's that year's movie. That's 2022's movie. So if there's a, yearbook of film and you're going through the history of film and you get to 2022, whenever that happens, whenever that book comes out, there's going to be a snippet from this movie in there, I feel like. It really just, like you said, just captured, not only just like movie lovers like you and I, but it was so important for different minorities and different people that were underrepresented in film in previous years. And I think that's such a big thing too. And it's such a crazy, just outlandish story that's just freaking wild. And it came out in March of last year. It came out early in the year. It premiered at South by Southwest in March of 2022. So here we are a year later, and it's getting recognized across the board. The Golden Peas, it'll come up a lot tonight. I'm not sure of the outcome, but it will come up a lot tonight one way or the other. So I agree with you 100%. I feel like that's the movie of 2022. And then I also think it was just a flagship year for horror this year. I mean, oh man, it was like every couple weeks there was like not only a horror movie coming out, but like a really good horror movie. Like I was going to see these movies in the theater whenever I could, and I'm just like, man, that was fucking good. That was another really good horror movie. And it was just like one after the other. I don't even know off the top of my head if I can even name a 2022 horror film that I did not like. I mean, I really don't know that I can do that right now. So I agree with everything you said. Just such a great year for those kind of weird little niche films. And I think horror and Everything Everywhere really jump out to me too.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to get into the categories. Now, there's 7 categories for the Golden Peas. In previous years, there's been more, and there may be more introduced as we go forward, depending on how the broadcast goes and my editing process and that whole thing. But we did a lot of fun things in the past, but I kept it somewhat basic and streamlined this year. So the 7 categories that we're going to be giving away awards tonight, and I'm going to have a guest presenter for each one of these. We're going to be doing Best Animated Film. We're going to do Best Action Film, Best Comedy Movie. We're going to do Best Male and Female Performance. Of course, Best Horror Film. And then we will be ending the awards with the Best Movie of the Year. And I want everyone to know that those 330 plus ballots that we got is where the results come from. It's 100% based on fan votes. And like I said, over 300 this year, which is great. It's almost triple from previous years. So that's the results. You guys voted for it. It's mostly like Film Twitter, my YouTube subscribers, my podcast listeners, my Twitter followers. Those are the people that voted, and we are going to get what we get. Now, as we, and hopefully, I'm hoping for good outcomes here. I hope you guys didn't let me down. So when we give away an award, Bryan, me and you'll come back. We'll kind of react to who won, and we'll have a discussion about each category as we go through here tonight. So first up, Bryan, are you ready?
I'm so ready to let those golden peas splash all over me.
Wait, what? I had to keep the name, man.
You chose it. You chose the name.
I mean, what am I going to do? Yeah, I had to keep it. All right, so let's get into it. So we'll get things started with our first presenter of the night. Sent in a little video clip for us, and it is so cute. My son, Logan, who is 9 years old, wanted to be a part of the show. He actually tried to co-host with me, Bryan. He was coming in on your territory. So I said, I don't know. You got to check the Loy Sauce, man. I don't know. But he's going to be presenting the award for the best animated movie of the year. It's my son, Logan. Let's cut to his clip, and then me and Bryan will be right back.
Okay. Oh, I'm not supposed to. Oh, okay. Hi, this is Gerald's son, Logan, and I'm here to present the award for the best animated movie of the year. So, this year, 2023, was a very, very good year for animated movies. And we had some very good stop motion. We had Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. We had Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I got some mail today. Yeah, it says Best Animated. And let's take a look at the nominees for Best Animated.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Turning Red. Minions, The Rise of Gru. Wendell and Wild.
Obviously, I have a script because I cannot remember anything, unfortunately. Hello, darkness. Anyway, so the winner is. I swear if I can. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio! Woo! It's sad because I'm celebrating by myself in a room by myself. But yeah! Let's go! Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio! Yeah, it's probably backwards, but yeah. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio! Woo!
All right, well, there you go, Bryan. My son said it. It must be true. I don't think he would troll us. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio winning Best Animated Movie. Again, voted on by the fans. I know you cast a ballot too, Bryan. What do you think of the winner? What do you think of the nominees? Did they get this right?
Well, I voted for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, so as far as I'm concerned, that's the correct choice. So, I mean, joy and warmth just radiates from this film, and Del Toro has always been fascinated with the Frankenstein myth, and he kind of applies that to the Pinocchio story. And it's a story that's been told so often before. I don't know how many Pinocchios we've seen, whether it's the Disney classic or the Pauly Shore version or what have you.
Just this year there were two, which I don't really want to talk about the other one, but
oh no, and there was the Zemeckis Pinocchio as well. So but this one reigns supreme. It has like a political pertinence because it's about Mussolini's reign, and so it kind of, weirdly enough, the story of Pinocchio is like thematically intertwined with this story of fascism. And when I initially was like watching interviews and stuff before I'd seen the film, Del Toro said it's a film about death, and I'm like, well, what could that mean? And then you watch the movie and you're like, this makes complete sense. So I think it's a masterwork. The stop motion animation is terrific. And it's a story that young kids and adults can enjoy. It's a little intense for younger kids, but there's nothing in it as terrifying as the donkey transformation scene in the original Disney film.
That's true.
That has the power to absolutely scar one for life. So, but just a delight. I mean, and in terms of, it's a strong category. Turning Red, I loved. Wendell and Wild, another great stop motion film that really went under the radar. And I think that's because Netflix did not promote it as much as they did Pinocchio. It's a little weird. It's a little scrappy. There's like 50 movies in that one. But I'm a big fan of Henry Selick and Key and Peele, just seeing them reunited, even if it wasn't them in live action, their voices just go together so well. Right. Marcel the Shell was a surprise. I loved the YouTube shorts when they came out. And so the feature is just as delightful. And moving. It's a very like melancholic movie, surprisingly. And you just fall in love with this like little 1-inch shell with shoes on. And I think that's such a, that speaks to the power of the charm of the character and the charm of Jenny Slate. For sure. What the hell is Minions: The Rise of Gru doing in this category?
I don't know. I actually really enjoy that movie. And I tell you, it's on a loop in my house right now because my 3-year-old's in love with it. So we're watching it. It's on Netflix now. I don't know if you know. So we're watching it like over and over and over again.
I don't keep tabs on Minions where Minions is streaming.
But I thought it was really good. My pick in this category, though, is Marcel the Shell, although I echo everything you said with Pinocchio, and I am definitely okay with it winning here, and it's going to sweep animated across the board this season, and it has been.
I hope.
Guillermo, it brings a little like Del Toro darkness to it. It's a little grim at times, but that brings that kind of adult aesthetic to it too, where like we enjoyed as much as like Logan loved this movie. He's 9. So I think it has that classic story. You mentioned the Disney iterations and stuff, and it just has that classic feel, but it still brings in that kind of like creepy, the way it was shot, and some of the themes in the film are definitely super heavy and deep, and it's a very profound film. And it's, the stop motion is just absolutely breathtaking. I mean, it's just so stellar, and the direction is uncanny. And, I think, Marcel the Shell just hit me personally at the right time when I saw it, because it was shortly after my grandmother had passed. And of course, we have the storyline in the film that kind of mirrors that in a way. So it was a very like personal movie to me, and it really just hit me at the right time. It was so emotional for me. I've seen it once since then, and that was my vote when I cast my ballot for this category. But I have no problem with Pinocchio winning, and I feel like that was easily probably the favorite in this category in every award show, including the Golden Peas. So first category down. Next category is coming up, and we're going to cut away to another clip because we have another very special guest joining us. Sent in a clip with the nominees and ultimately the winner here, Brad Hargis, my buddy from the Cinema Guys. He's also a patron of my show, and we've been in podcasting together for several years now, and he's just a great dude. And like I said, one of my best friends in podcasting. He's going to be announcing the winner for Best Comedy Movie. So let's watch Brad's clip, Loy Sauce, and then you and I will return to react to what ends up being the winner here. We'll be right back.
Oh, hello, friends. Friends of the Peas. The Golden Peas are underway. I really hope that Gerald and Loy Sauce are treating you well during this broadcast of the world-famous Golden Pea Awards. But enough about you. Let's talk about me. So, my name is Brad. I am the host, one of the hosts of the Cinema Guys podcast. I'm also a co-host of one of the greatest Apple TV Plus podcasts ever made in Apple TV Plus, as well as, a famous YouTuber and TikToker for To Be Tuesday with Brad. But enough on that. We're here to talk movies. 2022 was a great year in movies. There were many, many great films that came out. It was a great year for horror. But unfortunately, I'm not here to talk about horror. I am here to talk about the best comedy film. We had quite a few this year. I mean, we had hijinks ensuing in a glass house. We had Dakota Johnson whisper acting her way through a film. We had a gay rom-com. We had, Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. And, the crew of a ship getting seasick. And all kinds of crazy stuff happens there. So, without further ado, let's talk best comedy. Here are the nominees.
Bros. Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Triangle of Sadness. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
All right, those were some great nominees. So here it is, the envelope. Without further ado, the winner for Best Comedy is... I know who I want to win. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Wouldn't have been my choice. My choice would have been Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. But you, the listeners, voted on this. This is what you wanted. So now I'm going to throw it back to Gerald and Loy Sauce so you can enjoy the rest of the Golden Peas. Thank you very much for having me on, Gerald. We'll see you later.
All right. Thank you so much, Brad. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Perhaps not a mystery that was going to win the category. But there's your best comedy film. What do you think of these nominees, and how do you feel about that outcome?
Well, I mean, as you said, the outcome is no surprise. I mean, I think by and large, Glass Onion blows the rest of the competition away. I did not see Cha-Cha Real Smooth, so I can't comment on that particular film.
One of my favorite films of the year.
Wow. Okay. Right on. Yeah, I watched Bros in preparation for this podcast, and there were some laughs for sure. The gay persecution dark ride gag had me howling. I thought that was hilarious. But a lot of the humor seemed to revolve around straight people are like this, but gay people are like this. Like that was a lot of the comedy. And I know it's a rom-com, and I know that historically there have not been a wide berth of gay rom-coms, and especially ones that are released by a major studio. I think this would technically be the first, but it falls back on the tropes that we've seen 5,000 times before and doing nothing to satirize them or attack them from a different angle. Instead, it was just like, okay, we get the third act misunderstanding, the montage in the rain. We've seen it all before. So a fine effort, but not one of my favorites. Triangle of Sadness. There were quite a few films this year that tried to do, or rather that handled the subject matter of, wealth inequality. And Triangle of Sadness definitely had a point of view. that got a little muddled as the movie went on. I think most would agree that the third act kind of sinks the entire ship of the movie. Although I don't know, it's nominated for Best Picture, and it had its fans for sure. But I thought, it was a little rocky for me. And then Unbearable Weight as well. Really, really had a good time with that one. Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal are like a really great duo. I would actually love to see them do another film together.
I agree.
I wish the movie were a little bit more meta than it was, because it hinted at going in directions that would make it almost like a Charlie Kaufman-esque movie. Like I really wanted at one point, because they're talking about like making a movie or writing a movie that resembles the movie that we're currently watching. So I was expecting one of them to like pull out a script or something like, or something like that would have like pushed it into just really wacky territory. And it never quite went there for me. But I mean, it's Cage playing Cage, and how much better can you get with that? But with Glass Onion, it's Rian Johnson doing it again. He's doing his thing, his murder mystery kind of throwback, but completely refreshed in the modern era. I'm currently watching Poker Face on Peacock with Natasha Lyonne, that he's the showrunner for, and that is such a delightful show. I actually, I might even say that I liked it better than Glass Onion, so far. But and that should speak to the strengths of that show. But yeah, it was just fun, great cast.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a lot of the twists and turns, and it definitely takes the direction halfway through that completely makes you rethink what you watched before. And so, yeah, really, really strong effort again from Rian Johnson. And so that would be my pick as well. What about you, Gerald?
I agree with it winning here. It's not a surprise, like we said when we kind of came back from Brad's clip. But, my favorite in my top 10 movies of the year was Cha-Cha Real Smooth. So none of the other ones here would make that top 10 list. So that was my vote. I just love Cooper Raiff's style of filmmaking. I love Dakota Johnson. It just has a really kind of comforting warmth to it, but it's still kind of heartbreaking at the same time. And it does have its really hilarious moments with how his character is kind of fumbling through life and navigating relationships. And it's told in such a pure way that it just really spoke to me. It really took me back to like my early to mid 20s, kind of like post-college years. And he's done that with another movie called Shithouse as well that I really like. So I love him as a filmmaker. So I'm a little biased, but that was one of my favorite movies of the year. It's definitely my favorite one in this category. But Glass Onion would be a very close runner-up for me personally. And like I said, it was a no-brainer that this was going to win. It got over 50% of the vote here. People love this movie. I mean, the cast is stellar. Like you mentioned, Rian Johnson's one of the best filmmakers working today, I would say, arguably. And he made The Last Jedi, which I love. So I'm a Rian Johnson man.
I wholeheartedly love that film. I think people are going to come around on it in a few years' time. Do you think this is another fumble for Netflix? They released this film in theaters for a week, and only a week. I guess so it would meet eligibility for the Oscars, but
yeah.
I mean,
they got a weird thing going over there. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about it, because I'm still kind of mentally, at least somewhat, not completely, but still kind of mentally in the 2020 COVID kind of era in my mind, where like you almost had to have stuff at home in order to see it, or at least some people did.
But it was released in theaters. It wasn't a day and date. It wasn't in theaters and on Netflix. It was in theaters for a week and then a couple months until the Netflix premiere. And I just don't know why they would do it that way. Just leave it in theaters for a little bit longer. I thought initially that's why they kept that gap in between theatrical and streaming, so they can extend the theatrical engagement if they wanted to, but they didn't end up doing that. So I don't know. I think they left money on the table.
I agree. I think they're reevaluating. Our buddy Dan from Netflix and Swill has been commenting on this as of late, but I think they're reevaluating, maybe doing like a 30 or a 60-day like in theaters before it goes on streaming. And I think the 30-day kind of makes a little more sense. I don't know. What's the cutoff? I mean, you work in a movie theater, so it might not be the best person to ask, but if you were the GA, like what's the cutoff where like if you heard, oh, I'm not going to be able to see this at home for X number of days, that you would be like, I have to go see it in the theater. I can't wait that long. Is it 30 or 60?
I mean, I try to see everything, the week it comes out. And if not the week, then the the one after.
I know, that's why I'm saying you're not the best person to ask, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking of like Joe Schmo sitting on his couch and like.
I think it depends on the box office, of the film and the word of mouth. Like, if you have a 1 week engagement, there's no way you can get word of mouth to go to the theater to see it. So, and I think it just also adds to the confusion. Like, your average Joe Schmo doesn't know, like, can I go to the theater to see it? Can I watch it on Netflix now? When can I watch it on Netflix? So I don't know. I think it just adds to the confusion and the cluttered nature of this release strategy, to do it the way that Netflix did it. So anyway, I just was curious as to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is a little confusing for sure because, it played at a film festival here about a month before it came out to the general public. And even then I was like, oh, it's not coming out till December. Like, I didn't even realize that it was so far removed from when it was actually coming out. So it was a little confusing, and it was probably Netflix's marketing, like you said. I don't know, but hopefully they figure that out over there, because they do have some really good films. I mean, they've had good ones in the past that have been up for Oscars and everything else. And I hope they figure it out as far as theatrical goes. But nonetheless, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery won over my audience because they voted it as the best comedy. So there we go. We're on to our next category. Now, Brian, this is a stacked category. I'm extremely interested to see what walks away with this award. So we're going to throw it to my buddy Imran from Jock and Nerd. He's been on the show many, many times. I've been on his program a few times. He is one of the best dudes in podcasting. He's just such a great guy. He actually made my 2Ps logo for me a few years ago just because he's just the man. So let's throw it to Imran, and let's listen for the nominees and the winner in Best Action Movie. And then Brian and I will react. We'll be back in just a second.
Hi, this is Imran from the Jock and Nerd podcast, and I'm here to present the award for Best Action Movie of the Year. Over on the Jock and Nerd, we love comic book movies, genre films, and action films, and 2022 gave us tons to be geeked over. Everything from Top Gun Maverick to Avatar to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Batman. Amazing stuff. But we also got stuff like Black Adam and Morbius. Turns out it was not Morbin time. I don't know when it's ever gonna be Morbin time. And now, here are your nominees for Best Action Movie of the Year.
The Northman. Top Gun Maverick. RRR. Prey. The Batman.
Oh boy, those are all amazing films. I can't wait to see who wins. Let's find out. And the winner is... This Is My Electric Bill. The winner is RRR. I hope that works.
Thank you, Imran, good friend of mine. And there you have it. RRR, the international phenomenon, winning Best Action Movie. It's also up later for Best Movie of the Year. I don't know. A lot of votes for action, though. What do you think, Loy Sauce? You a fan of this one?
I'm thrilled by this news because this was my number 2 film of the year, and it's the one I voted for. I mean, Triple R was like an experience unlike any experience I've ever had at the movies. People were on their goddamn feet in the middle of the movie, cheering, and I feel like obviously there was a portion of the audience that were fans of the filmmaker and fans of the stars, and other people who went in have had no idea. You know, they were just going in blind. So I think this is a movie that kind of broke through and reached an audience that would otherwise not, you know, engage with this particular material or this market of film. And it just kind of puts Hollywood to shame when you see a big, you know, action spectacle like this that's just so unabashedly itself and so over the top. And then you see a movie like I hate to you know throw a movie under the bus here, but like something like Thor: Love and Thunder, which is like it looks like a Star Wars prequel. It looks like Attack of the Clones. Like, are we not past this? You know, this kind of film yet?
Mm-hmm.
And then Triple R comes along. It's just such a breath of fresh air. There's, you know, a dude picking up a motorcycle and hitting another dude with it, and then like you get, you know, a musical number that involves suspenders, and it's just thrilling. So anyway, I was very pleased with Triple R and its win. As far as the other nominees, I mean, it's, as you said, stacked category. The Batman, hugely impressive. It came out earlier in the year. And so maybe I softened a little bit on it as the year went on, but what an extraordinary achievement that was, bringing the noir back to Batman, and Robert Pattinson killing it in the role, you know, as kind of a more goth interpretation of the character. Love to see it. So I can't wait for Matt Reeves' next films in the trilogy. The Northman, Robert Eggers is a filmmaking talent that, you know, he just doesn't miss, at least so far. This was more straightforward than his other films. It was a kind of your meat and potatoes revenge film, but it was very satisfying, and you know, action packed, and you know, it was really brutal, very intense. Prey was a surprise. I'm a fan of all of the Predator films to varying degrees, but Prey is one of the best of the franchise. I think, arguably, it's, you know, aside from the original, the best sequel. And this, it's more of a prequel, and it's really what the Predator series should be doing, which is self-contained stories and different periods in time, you know, featuring a Predator. So love that.
Concept.
And Top Gun Maverick. I mean, this also ended up on my top 10 of the year. This is how you do a legacy sequel. This very easily could have been a cash grab. Just, you know, when a Top Gun sequel was announced, I asked why are we making a sequel to one of the most shallow movies ever? And here it comes along, and it makes the original like meaningful just by proxy, just by being a sequel and really delving into the character of Maverick. Obviously, it's not the most complex character ever, but they give him real dimension, give him real conflict, and the dogfighting sequences are just exhilarating. So, you know, it's military propaganda, but it's military propaganda with dramatic purpose, and I loved it. So, that was a close second for me. But Triple R, as far as the experience of watching it, was just absolutely unlike anything I've ever had in the theater.
Yeah, the love for RR is real. I mean, you know, it's coming back to the theaters for like a limited engagement, and you know, people love it. I saw it on Netflix. We were talking about Netflix earlier. You know, I mean, it's 3 hours, but or more than 3 hours, but it's like exhilarating. It's like never boring. You know, there's always something crazy happening or some really memorable musical number going on. You know, it's funny because I don't like movies that go over 3 hours typically, and I don't like musicals typically, but I love Triple R. Like, I love this movie. It just really keeps the audience engaged, and it's like an event, you know, and I can only imagine seeing it in the theater, like you said, too.
Yeah. And it's a musical insofar as that there's like a couple, you know, dance sequences in it. It's not
right.
Bollywood films. What I love about them is they throw everything and the kitchen sink in their movies. So yes, they're 3 hours, but they try to give you as much bang for your buck as possible. It's just packed to the brim with entertainment, action, romance, you know, comedy, and even a couple dance numbers. So, I mean,
it's great.
I loved it. And we're talking about Netflix again. The only way you can watch Triple R, aside from catching it in the theater, which is a rarity, is watching it on Netflix. And Netflix has the film in a dubbed language only. You can't watch it in its original Telugu language. And and also in the wrong aspect ratio. And so it's just frustrating. Like, once again, I don't know if Netflix only had the rights to one of the dubs or if this is on Netflix entirely, but it's just unfortunate because I want to, I want people to experience the film as it's intended to be experienced. And I'm hoping that some kind of physical release will come down the pike for Triple R, because I want to be able to own the film again as it's intended. So
yeah, me
anyway,
too. Yeah,
just had to throw that out there.
Absolutely. My vote in this category was for Prey. That was also in my top 10 movies of the year. I just was so taken by it and so surprised by it. I just thought like, oh, this is, I remember being disappointed it didn't come out in the theater. It was a Hulu original.
Yeah.
And that kind of like set me up, kind of like pissed off to begin with. And then I just, was like, there's no way it's going to be as good as Predator or, some of the other stuff I love in the franchise. And I don't know, man, this is toe to toe with the original for me. Like, I absolutely loved it. I love Amber Midthunder in it. Just the different kind of like historical. You already mentioned kind of the concept and what they could do with that going forward. I mean, you could drop the Predator into any timeline in history and it would make sense and it would be thrilling. So I love it, and that would be my vote. But I mean, Triple R is such a crowd pleaser. I mean, that's the best way to describe that movie. And it got 44% of the vote here for Best Action. So I'm curious to see what happens when we get around to Best Movie, which is also in the running for. But there you go. Triple R, RRR is the best action movie according to my fans here at the Golden Peas. Brian,
yes,
you know what's next, man. It is close to our heart.
We're horror guys.
We are horror guys. Best horror movie. We're going to throw it over to a mutual friend of ours that we both love very much, Justin.
I don't love him that much.
Well, a little bit. from Epic Film Guys and Brain Stew and who knows what else he's doing over there, but he is the man, and he's going to be giving us our nominees and winner in the category of Best Horror Movie.
Hey creeps, this is Justin from Epic Film Guys, and I'm here to present the award for Best Horror Movie of the Year. 2022 was a massive year for horror, one of the best in ages. The return of Ty West, Mia Goth killing everyone known to man, the creation of the mega slasher. Just enough gory goodness to make any horror fan salivate. Now, let's take a look at the nominees for Best Horror.
Smile. Scream. X. Barbarian. Terrifier 2.
All right, guys, you ready for this? And the winner is Ty West's X.
Well, there you go. Ty West and X is named the best horror movie of the year. Loy Sauce, I was looking at the results after we found out, and this is the closest race thus far, at least. It got 29% of the vote. Second place would have been Barbarian with 27% of the vote. So a very, very close victory here for X. What do you think, man? Are you satisfied with the nominees here, or do you think this is the right outcome?
I mean, I couldn't be more satisfied with the nominees.
All right, okay.
I mean, all of them are bangers to varying degrees. I think X. So I must ask you. So why X and not Pearl?
Well, I did the preliminary ballot. I didn't mention this at the
Okay.
top. It's not me. I did the
I know.
preliminary ballot, and X got. In other words, these 5 movies were the 5 that were most mentioned in the preliminary ballots.
Right.
So
Okay. Very interesting.
Pearl was on there though. It was like top 10, but it didn't make the top 5.
Yeah. Well, Pearl is more of like a character study or chamber piece. X is very much a slasher throwback, you know, through and through. It's really like it starts out as one movie and it takes a direction and it just goes full Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I think what Ty West is doing with these movies is something really, really special because he's creating a cinematic universe of sorts just from the ground up. He shot these movies simultaneously and, you know, really developed them with Mia Goth and really took thought into making like a horror icon. Let's make a horror icon. And so Pearl was born. And I cheated a little bit. I put in my top 10 of the year, like X and Pearl kind of in the same number because you can't really talk about one without the other. I guess you could, but I don't know why you would.
That's a good point. I mean, you definitely can. I have the take that, and maybe you share this take with me, but I think Mia Goth is much better in Pearl in terms of like a performance, and that's coming up in here in a little bit with female performance. She's nominated for that in that movie. But for movie, I think X, I don't know. I feel like it's not as performance heavy. Like it doesn't rely on one person's existence to be successful.
It's an ensemble piece for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I do love that. I'm just more prone to that kind of like 70s backwoods Texas Chainsaw kind of early, you know, Friday the 13th kind of vibes that we get in X. And I don't know. I thought Pearl was, I love Pearl. Like they're like Kid 1 and Kid 2 for me, these two movies. And I'm sure Maxine's going to be phenomenal too. But it just like spoke to me more of the aesthetic in X.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Totally fair. Yeah. So, I mean, as you said, it was close and I don't doubt it. The film that I chose just because, again, it surprised me so much was Barbarian. The structure of that movie is just insane. I was really tickled by how tight the screenplay was in terms of the structure. I mean, obviously, when you get down to actually what's happening, it's a little silly. But that's the joy of the movie is the discovery of like, okay, what's going on here? And then when you get the answer, it's properly insane. So loved that one. And Justin Long like completely runs away with the film.
So good, man.
Hilarious. Coming out at the very beginning of the year was Scream or Scream 5 or Scream 2022 or however you want to say it.
5 Scream.
Sure. Yeah, let's go with that. I thought this was a really strong effort. I mean, it really it leaned a little bit too heavily into the first Scream for me in terms of callbacks, but I think it was necessary to do to introduce a new generation to Scream. And obviously it was successful enough that they're continuing the series and really, you know, if the trailers are any indication, really delving into the lore of the sequels, which is nice. So I thought it was a really strong effort. Like I said, you know, the fate of certain characters left me a little sad, but it wouldn't be a Scream movie, you know, without some casualties. So really good slasher. Smile I watched in preparation for this.
Yeah, interesting
podcast.
To see what you thought there.
I thought it was solid. I thought it kind of loses its nerve in the last like 5 minutes. I think it tried to go for shock rather than thematic, you know, a thematic through line that it was trying to establish. And I'm fine with that. Like, I understand that it's not necessarily a message movie. It's a movie about a curse. And so once you realize that, you know, the taste goes down a little bit better, but it's, you know, the ending is pretty gnarly. And if you have, you know, struggles with mental health, it could read as very dark indeed. So, you know, good jolts, lots of creepy imagery. And even though I feel like a lot of it was cribbed from other films that I have seen in terms of, you know, again, like the story itself was kind of pulling from a lot of different wells. I thought the filmmaking was very strong. I would like to see this filmmaker go on to make some different horror movies or different films in general.
Yeah,
So
Parker Finn. Yeah, I think it was really well shot too. Terrifier 2. I love it. What are your thoughts on that one?
Terrifier 2 is just a lot of movie. I really respect it. I really respect it. I love it's just it feels like Damien Leone was only going to direct one film in his entire life, or like this was his last film. And he just thought, I'm just gonna go hog wild. I'm gonna put everything in this movie. And you can tell it's this like 2.5 hour epic. It's gnarly as hell. It's it has like a lore to it that I don't quite understand, but maybe in future sequels we'll get there.
I hope so. Yeah.
And just a badass final girl. I mean, Lauren Lavera, just completely giving us like a character that we can root for, which is not something that the first Terrifier, as much as I, respect it, had. I mean, this has heart, this has purpose, and it's not. I mean, it's a lot of torture and a lot of grue and grit and gore.
Sure.
It's not for the faint of heart, but it's going somewhere, and I'm very intrigued indeed to see where the Terrifier franchise goes. The fact that it's this tiny movie, this crowdfunded movie that just obliterated it in theaters.
Yeah,
I mean, this is why we're going to start to see indie horror stuff playing in multiplexes. The fact that you can see movies like Skinamarink and The Outwaters and just like weirdo, experimental stuff like that.
Right.
Your thoughts on The Outwaters, but like the fact that it's playing in theaters is just insane.
A win. Yeah. No, that's a win for sure. And it's a win for indie horror and just for the genre in general. And it's going to put more eyeballs on the genre. So I got no problem with it, regardless of what my personal, holdups with certain projects might be. But Terrifier 2 was not one of them. I loved it. I thought the editing could have been a little tighter. I mean, it gets a little long-winded at times in this kind of like, balls to the wall slasher movie.
But again, there's no studio. There's no studio telling him you got to cut that out. You got to make it shorter.
Right.
Like it was released completely his vision, completely uncut, and that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen.
Right, and I love it for that reason. So absolutely, it's a very small gripe. Like I said, it doesn't even really matter. I love the movie, and you and I actually talked with our buddy Justin about Barbarian. I was that movie was a roller coaster, and so was kind of my enjoyment of it. Like I really loved it in certain parts, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" at certain parts, and then I really loved it by the end, and it was just kind of all over the place for me. But I would definitely rather have that movie exist than not exist. I loved it. Scream. I mean, I'm just a super fan of that franchise, so I love that it got mentioned here, and having coming out so early in the year too is cool that it was still in everybody's mind. And we already talked about Smile, based on a short film, which is also really, really frightening. But I love that movie, and X was my vote. I love Ty West. I'm just a fanboy of his, and I just love everything that he's done. I mean, I love how whatever movie he's making, I feel like he almost shoots the movie as if he was in that year. I feel I feel like he existed in 1979 and made this movie in 1979, and it just came out. Like that's kind of the feel you get with a lot of his stuff. And I love that he's able to kind of recreate that. He edits his own films, which is freaking, as an editor, I'll tell you, that's crazy that you have time to film it and then edit it too. Like he just really takes ownership of his movies. And, that was one of my favorite films of the year, period. And it was my vote for this category too.
Honestly, like in hindsight, I probably should have gone with X in this category. If X were replaced with Pearl, I probably would have chose Pearl. Like I think that movie is just more partial to my taste. I loved X, don't get me wrong, but it's like, as you said, it's like, kid 1 and kid 2. So
absolutely. So there you go. That was your best horror movie of the year. Thanks, guys. X from Ty West, and we're on to some performances now. So instead of doing supporting and lead, I just grouped everybody together. I just said the top 5 dudes that get mentioned are going to be the nominees for best male. The top 5 women that get mentioned will be the best nominees for female. And that's what we did. First up is our friend Emily Higgins from the Tasteless podcast. She is going to give us our nominees for best female performance and announce the winner. Brian, Mia Goth is in this category. I'm nervous, but we will be right back.
Hi, this is Emily from Tasteless, and I'm here to present the award for Best Female Performance of the Year. my favorite category. I feel very honored to be presenting this. I can't wait to see who won because this film year has been phenomenal. I got back into the theaters like never before. Everything Everywhere All at Once in a theater. Michelle Yeoh can do no wrong. Go watch Police Story 3. For real. Tar, Kate Blanchett in a fitted suit being mean, incredible. And the Golden Peas, they have horror. They have everything. They don't just go with the award mainstays. This is an award show for the people. I'm so excited to be honoring all of these incredible talents. Let's see who the nominees for Best Female Performance are.
Mia Goth, Pearl.
Please just tell me so maybe I can get better. I don't want to end up like Mom, or I want to be dancing up on the screen like the pretty girls in the pictures.
Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I will always want to be here with you.
Kate Blanchett, Tar.
Time is the essential piece of interpretation. You cannot start without me.
Claire Foy, Women Talking.
We know that we are bruised and infected and pregnant and terrified.
Amber Midthunder, Pray.
There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Okay, and the winner is Michelle Yeoh. Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is, thank you. I'm accepting on behalf of Michelle. Thank you, Golden Peas.
All right. So, as if Michelle Yeoh was not getting enough awards this season, she also has the Golden Pea to put on her mantle now as the best female performance there from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Thank you so much to my friend Emily for giving us the nominees and the winner there. Bryan, what do you think, man? I am, before you speak, I just want to tell you, I am like in love with Mia Goth's performance in Pearl. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit tonight. So that was my vote, and I think she had the best performance across the board, period. And of course, she's not going to get nominated for any Academy Awards because it's horror. So I was holding out for a Golden Pea, but it didn't happen. It went to Michelle Yeoh, which is also a tremendous, just out of this world, once in a lifetime performance. What do you think about the outcome here, man?
I mean, very well deserved for Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
I mean, that performance, it seemed like the role was just made for her. Like, she just originally was written for Jackie Chan, but like it just seemed like it was the role of a lifetime. Like, she was in her element. She was able to do so much. She was, able to do her, kung fu. She was able to do more emotional, work. She's able to do some comedy. So it's just a very all-encompassing performance, and she nailed it. She just nailed it. And James Hong gave a great speech at the SAG Awards. He was talking about the underrepresentation of Asians in Hollywood, and Ke Huy Quan, his comeback story has been largely centered around the fact that he could not get work for years and years. So, it's a shame, and I'm just thrilled that they're finally getting the recognition that they deserve. And
shout out to A24 too, by the way. I mean, not just this, but like Minari and they really are.
The Farewell, yeah.
The Farewell, yeah. They really are putting a spotlight on that community for sure, and it's so overdue. So I love it.
Absolutely. So very well deserved. It feels like a career. I don't know, just kind of not a capper, because she still has lots of great performances in her, I'm sure. But it just feels like a real win for her. I'm so pleased. Mm-hmm. My pick was Mia Goth for Pearl as well, just because, again, the role requires so much of her. It's such a camp performance, but there's real pathos and there's real tragedy to this role as well, and real humanity. And that monologue sequence where she just, whatever it is, 10 or 12-minute monologue where she just completely transfixes you to the screen, and nothing's happening, but the camera is fixed on her sitting and talking, and it's riveting. So tightrope of a performance, but she absolutely nailed it. Amber Midthunder, what a surprise. Again, Prey just, it completely not subverted my expectations. It exceeded my expectations. I had, I was nervous about it going in. But one of the standout things about that movie was Amber Midthunder and her just kind of steely, badassery that I just loved. And Cate Blanchett and Tar, this is a performance too that just, there are layers to it, because Cate Blanchett, or Lydia Tarr, her character, is introduced. She's this, badass who takes no prisoners, and you're like, yes, you're completely on Lydia Tarr's side as she dominates the industry. And then as more and more, revelations occur in the story, she, more layers are peeled back, and she becomes almost like a completely different, tragic character, a character to be pitied, a character to be despised and be disgusted by. So you're never really sure what you think of Lydia Tarr, and that's exactly what the movie was trying to convey, and it all rests on Cate Blanchett's performance. So
absolutely
great stuff. Did not see Women Talking, so I can't comment on Claire Foy's performance, but I'm sure you can. So take it away.
Yeah, I mean, she was she was the standout for me in Women Talking. I mean, she would be considered a supporting role in that movie, because there's so many women in that film that give equally amazing performances. There's not really one lead. They're all great. Jessie Buckley comes to mind, Rooney Mara, Frances McDormand. I mean, they're all just amazing. But for me, Claire Foy was a standout, and she did get the most mentions when I was doing the preliminary ballots. The movie had just come out at the time, and I think it was just fresh in everybody's mind. But I am at least glad to see that she ended up on a ballot, or that Women Talking did, period, because it's been getting overlooked a lot, the awards this award season.
I just haven't had a chance to see it. It's not really been a convenient rollout.
I'd be interested to see what you think, because there's definitely some interesting choices made from like a filmmaking perspective, like a technical perspective. So I'd be interested to see what you think. But the performance,
I plan on watching it. Yeah,
the performances are amazing. Looking at the results here, and you don't always find out who like 1, 2, 3 were, but Michelle Yeoh did win with 36% of the vote. And then second place, which is a bit surprising, was Amber Midthunder in second, and Cate Blanchett came in third for Tar. So just a really good group. I can't believe Mia Goth came in 4. You guys are breaking my heart, and probably Loy's too, because it was one of our favorite performances of the year. But there you go. Michelle Yeoh continues her reign over this award season with the lowly Golden Pea. She even gets that as Best Female Performance. So there you go. All right, so we're down to 2 categories left. Next up, we're going to be looking at our Best Male Performance. I have my buddy David Rosen presenting this one from Piecing It Together. He's also a musician out in Las Vegas, and he loves movies. Make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. By the way, all these presenters and their information will be down below for you to click on the links. But Dave is going to be giving us the nominees and the winner for Best Male Performance. Dave, take it away, brother.
Hey, I'm David from Piecing It Together, and I'm here to present the award for Best Male Performance of the Year. And 2022 was a really great year for movies. There's a really wide range of movies that were nominated, and we get all kinds of stuff from crowd-pleasing favorites to the kind of stuff you usually see nominated for Oscars to really weird out-there picks. So some really interesting stuff. So, with that said, let's take a look at the nominees for Best Male Performance.
Austin Butler, Elvis.
And nobody's gonna remember me. I never did anything lasting. I never made a classic film that I could be proud of.
Ki Hee Kwan, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I know you're all fighting because you're scared and confused all day. I don't know what the heck is going on.
Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin.
Some things there's no moving on from. And I think that's a good thing.
Daniel Kaluuya, Nope.
Well, I'm saying there's plenty of videos of flying online. I saw one the other day that wasn't on Oprah.
I didn't say Oprah. You said Oprah. You love Oprah.
Tom Cruise, Top Gun Maverick.
Don't ask me to send someone else to die, please. Don't ask me to send him.
Okay, and the winner is... Wait a minute. This is just a bunch of puzzle pieces. Oh, here we go. Ke Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right, Brian. So there you have it. As Dave said there, Ke Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once, joining his screen partner, Michelle Yeoh, as he is awarded the Best Male Performance. I want to see what you think. But what's interesting to me is he's the only quote-unquote supporting role in this category. The other four are leads in their respective films. What do you think? Ke Kwan also have been sweeping this award season, and no different here.
I mean, he broke my heart. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this character is just so endearing. And it really, I feel like it could not have been portrayed by anyone other than Ke Kwan. He just has that sweetness to him. And of course, he's been in beloved movies before, playing beloved characters like Data in the Goonies and Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And, you know, in the interim between those movies, you know, obviously he was in a few movies here and there, Encino Man and things like that. But, you know, he could not get roles for the longest time. Not even he couldn't get roles. He couldn't get auditions. And so think of all the great performances we were robbed of, you know,
crazy, man.
And that's the thing, like the movie just, Everything Everywhere All at Once just feels like a gift. It feels like a gift to the audience. It feels like a gift to these actors to be able to, you know, play and portray real, like, memorable characters. And so I don't know, I'm just so pleased for him. He seems so wholesome and seems so just, he loves acting. And you can tell when he's being interviewed, like, you know, I kept paying the SAG membership year after year because I just held out hope. And so his comeback story is just so thrilling. I mean, it just,
I agree.
He and Brendan Fraser definitely have the comeback stories of the season for sure.
I agree.
But of course, there are other, I mean, great performances here. Austin Butler, who feels like he was possessed by the ghost of Elvis Presley in this performance. He's just a firecracker.
Yeah, so good.
I mean, a role that's just full of energy. Apparently, he went complete method, you know, ate bowls of melted ice or drank bowls of melted ice cream to gain the weight. And he's still talking like Elvis, which good for him. He completely just sank himself into that character for sure. Great movie too, I think. Colin Farrell, I mean, really, Colin Farrell's eyebrows should also be nominated because he does an incredible eyebrow work in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Just watch the movie and you'll know what I mean.
Yeah,
but,
I know, it's true. Yeah,
but again, great performance. It really feels like he nailed the melancholy of the character and kind of the comedy. Hard balancing act to pull off. But definitely one of the year standouts for sure. And the fact that Colin Farrell has been so prolific this year. I mean, he was Penguin and the Batman, completely unrecognizable. And also just playing this very endearing and very sad character in the Banshees of Inisherin too. So
After Yang was great, 13 Lives. I mean, the guy had a freaking year, dude.
Definitely. After Yang was definitely one of the underrated films, one of the underrated films of the year, I think. Daniel Kaluuya for Nope. Good performance. In fact, I'm surprised to see this because when I left Nope, seeing it in the theater, I was left wanting from his performance. It's very understated.
It is. I agree. Yeah.
I've come around on it now. I've come around on it now because I think that's the character he's meant to be portraying, and he was probably directed to act that way, and that makes sense for the character. And his the way that he and Keke Palmer, who's a little bit more animated in her performance, you needed someone a little bit more subdued to kind of have that energy. So, yeah, very good. I loved Nope. I thought it was one of the best films of the year. Didn't quite make my top 10, but I just thought that was a fine-tuned machine all around. And yeah, good performances in that as well. And of course, Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick, again, bringing depth to a character that I watched the original Top Gun and I just want to deck Maverick across the face. He's so smarmy and he just has that stupid grin on his face the entire movie. And I'm not a fan of the original Top Gun, but in Top Gun Maverick, again, he just, I feel like he was able to bring a lot more to the character. Because the character he's a good pilot and he does really well and he's the best. And that's his character. And so in Maverick, the fact that he was able to have a little bit more depth, a little bit more conflict, especially with the Miles Teller character, that brought so much to the movie. So, and of course, he's an absolute madman and clearly has a death wish and, insists on doing all of these death-defying stunts that, I respect the hell out of him for it. He's an insane person. And that should not, and that's probably why he's listed here, because he just goes the distance.
Yeah, I mean, for our entertainment too, it's crazy, and for his personal love of the movies, I'm sure too, and just that experience. I mean, the stuff that he's in almost always is like something you just definitely should see in the theater, whether it's this or Mission Impossible, or the guy's insane. So,
or even Rock of Ages, which is a horrible movie, but he's unbelievable in that. Who thought that he could sing like that? I don't know. It's just the man is an enigma for sure.
He knows how to bring it, man. He knows how to bring it. Austin Butler was my vote. I mean, I'm a huge Elvis fan, so I'm a bit biased, but I thought he just kind of like what we already talked about. He just literally was Elvis for 2 hours. I mean, it was crazy. And was so engrossed in the role and the history of the character, became so close to the family. Baz Luhrmann has a certain way of directing films that you either love it or you hate it, because they're usually very loud, very in your face. But with that kind of aesthetic and the legacy of Elvis Presley, it really spoke to me. So I really dug it. Ke Huy Quan is kind of that feel good one on the list. And if Austin was going to lose, I'm glad it was to Quan. I think that's just such a good story, and just the injustice of him not being able to do what he loved for so many years, for whatever the reasoning was or the multiple reasons were.
Racism, but
yeah, exactly. That's probably number one on the list. Absolutely. So I'm glad that he's the winner here. Just so everyone knows the results, Colin Farrell came in second. So I think that was a quiet, introspective, beautiful performance from him. And the guy puts in every movie. He gives a great performance, I think. And when he gets together with Martin McDonagh, it's even more special. And Gleason, really. I mean, the three of them together just really turn in amazing stuff. So, but Ke Huy Quan kind of ran away with it here with 45% of the vote. So there you go. That's your best male performance. And I love it. I think it's great that he's been getting the recognition this year for this role and this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that one is also nominated for Best Movie. That is the only category remaining here on the Golden Peas to be handed out. And I got my buddy Matt from Next Best Picture to present the Best Picture for the Golden Peas, the best movie of the year. Let's see what Matt has to say and see what the winner is among these 10 nominees. And then we will wrap up and give our reaction to that in just a minute.
Hi everyone, this is Matt Negley of Next Best Picture, and I have the honor of announcing the final award of the evening, Best Movie of 2022. 2022 was quite an extraordinary year for cinema goers, whether it was going back to the movie theater to watch Avatar: The Way of Water for a 7th time, or if you were staying at home and watching the latest films on streaming. Whatever the case might be, 2022 united us all with this art form that we all love so near and dear to our hearts. And now, here are the nominees for the Best Movie of 2022.
The Batman. Elvis. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Menu. Nope. Pray. RRR. Tar. Top Gun Maverick. X.
And the winner for the best movie of 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Congratulations.
Well, it is everywhere. It is everything. It happened all at once. Not really, because it came out in March of last year, but Everything Everywhere All at Once continues to win awards, including the Golden Peas. That's your best movie of the year. Thank you so much to Matt for announcing that for us and for that little blurb. What do you think, Brian? I know we've already kind of talked about this movie, but as you're looking at the nominees, some of the ones on here we actually have not talked about tonight because they only made it into this category. What do you think about these 10 movies here and the result?
Well, the result, I mean, as I said at the top of the show, like it's the movie of the year for me. It seems like the movie of the year, just period. Like it just came out of nowhere and just completely took everyone by surprise, blew everyone away. It's a smart screenplay. It's, it's universe spanning. It's, bursting with just creativity and heart. And it's just a fantastic movie. And it feels like a cultural moment. So for that reason, I'm thrilled that it won Best Movie.
Yeah, same here.
But there's a lot of, the category is just full of other fantastic fare. You have, of course, The Batman, which I loved. I wish it could have made my top 10, but again, I think it came out a little bit too early in the year for me. But yeah, absolutely terrific. Elvis, which we briefly talked about, but I just thought that was a movie. Again, it was. I'm not a big fan of Baz Luhrmann. Moulin Rouge is among my most hated movies, I think, of all time.
We've talked about that before, I know.
But Elvis, just it's this big, unwieldy, exhausting, gaudy thing, and I respect it. And I was just completely taken by like the ride of just presenting the whole life story of Elvis in this way that's just like a roller coaster. It's thrilling. Right. And I think a lot of it is anchored by Austin Butler's performance, but the filmmaking, I think, should not be ignored. It's really, again, I feel like it's directed by an insane person. That's really the only way we get this result is like someone who's just a little bit unhinged.
Sure.
I'm surprised to see, I'm actually very pleased to see The Menu on here. This is a movie that I missed in theaters, and a few people that I really respect, including Justin of the Epic Film Guys podcast, or excuse me, Brain Stew now. Obviously, I love the guy I was teasing earlier. He's my best friend, and
yeah, of course,
I respect his opinions on film. And he was a little lukewarm on The Menu, and so I skipped it in theaters. And then when I saw it, I was very impressed. I feel like it's one of those movies that could have been extremely annoying. Judging from the trailer, I was like, I feel like this is a little bit too broad, and it's a little bit too like nudging the audience. And when you see it in the actual film and you see the context, the satire is like pitch perfect. I don't know, just there's a lot of subtleties. There's a lot of really big comedic moments that pay off. And
it's a little bit of a tighter kind of like narrative to like something like Triangle of Sadness. They're in that same kind of subgenre, if you will, like kind of lashing at the 1%.
The post-Parasite, glut of films attacking the rich, and which is fine. I think, if anyone deserves a big old target, hashtag eat the rich. But I felt the menu was just more satisfying than something like Triangle of Sadness because
Me too. I agree with that.
Because it could have gone over the top. It approached the line and it didn't cross it. Like it could have turned very stupid and very hokey very quickly, and it never reached that point. It had respect for its audience, and I admired it.
Right, I agree.
Nope, as I said, really, Jordan Peele. I mean, I just, the man's talent astounds me. And this was a different direction for him, not quite as horror as something like Get Out or Nope, but it still had those elements, and it was basically a Jaws for the modern, generation. So loved that. Prey, a complete surprise. We talked about that. Triple R, just triumphant filmmaking. Really liked Tar, although my opinions of it are very much like the opinions I think you have for the main character. It's a very mixed kind of, you're not sure whether to like throw your arms around it and effusively, praise it, or I wasn't really
disgusted by it, kind of.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how I was supposed to feel. And the ending, I'm not going to give anything away for those who haven't seen it, but it feels like the punchline to a joke that wasn't particularly very funny to begin with.
Sure, yeah.
But it's an interesting character study, and well worth seeing if you're in it for the long haul. It's a long film, but it definitely is one that will start a conversation. The three of us watched it here at home, and we ended up talking about the movie afterwards for about as long as the movie itself. So it really starts a conversation, and it's smart filmmaking. And then of course, Top Gun Maverick and X, we've talked about at length. So really, really strong home runs pretty much across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Everything Everywhere got my vote in this category among these 10. With my personal biases creeping in, the closest thing would have probably been X or Prey for me personally. But I think Everything Everywhere is just too good. It's too important, really, in the story of cinema. I mean, it's the movie of 2022, we already kind of said, and it just kind of shines a light on so many underrepresented demographics. And, I was also a giant fan. In fact, it was my #1 movie that year with Parasite. And I feel like this movie is kind of in the same boat in 2022 that Parasite was in 2019, I think it was, or 2018. So it just really is just a zeitgeist phenomenon, that movie. And I feel like it almost has to win best movie at everything that it's up for. And I'm so glad it did here as well. Just so everyone knows, these are the 10 movies that got the most mentions in the preliminary ballots. These are quote unquote your top 10 movies. When I put those out in like mid-October, and I was accepting those for about a month and a half, and these are the top 10. Just missing it at number 11 would have been Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and number 12 would have been The Fabelmans. Those were the two near misses that were so close to making it into the final 10. But that's what we got, and Everything Everywhere All at Once is your best movie of the year. That's it for the Golden Peas, guys. Those are the 7 categories we had this year. And me and Brian are just going to wrap up and have a quick discussion. Brian, is there any movie that we did not talk about tonight that you loved in 2022 that you would have liked to have seen gotten some love here at the Golden Peas?
Well, your favorite film of the year was Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. I think we all know that.
Wow. You really liked that one, though, didn't you? Because I know Justin did.
That ended up in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah,
I
it was
just
underwhelming for me, but I'm weird, so I don't know. I guess I was just kind of.
No, I think I don't think you're weird. It's definitely a film that when I watched the trailer, I thought, oh brother, like it's gonna be it's just gonna be one of those like falling in love with the magic of movies. But it's
right.
I found the film like far less wistful than I was expecting. It's very dark. And I admired that. And I also appreciated just of course, the filmmaking prowess that Spielberg continues to show in this stage of his career. I mean, West Side Story was a film that flew right under the radar, and it was wonderful. I just thought that was terrific. So I love this reflective stage of Spielberg. The closing scene is absolute dynamite. There's that adage that, a film is only as good as its final scene, and the final scene in The Fabelmans is just terrific. So I loved that. I also, in my top 10, I included some smaller films that, that I feel like wouldn't end up on other people's top tens. I mean, Phil Tippett's Mad God. Again, not for every tastes. It's a stop motion animated. Basically, it's like a fever dream. It's just a series of nightmarish imagery, but it's a feat of imagination and
interesting point. I'll just want to add to what you said there. That would have been the number 6 nominee, the 6th one for animated. It did get some mentions in the preliminary ballots, but didn't quite make it. But you know what beat it was Minions. It's just strange. The Rise of Gru, but there you go.
I'm highly disappointed in your listeners for this. No, but yeah, Mad God definitely I have to mention, and also a film called Strawberry Mansion, which I have to throw out there. It's this very kind of lo-fi, low budget, very sweet and romantic, dreamlike fable, and it's one that not very many people saw. Didn't get a big release, but it's worth seeking out. Strawberry Mansion. I just found it to be so charming and creative, and I loved that. Of course, that's not going to end up in any like end of year.
Yeah, I need to check it out though.
Award ceremony, but in terms of like the year as a whole, I found those films to be memorable for me.
That's great. Well, and looking at my top 10 of the year that we did that episode a couple months ago, and I had to kind of refresh my memory, but there are 3 movies in my top 10 that didn't come up across anything on the Golden Peas ballots, which was disappointing for me because in fact, my top 2 movies of the year did not get any nominations. And we also haven't really mentioned them tonight, but it would have been in Damien Chazelle's Babylon. And
didn't see it.
Oh, you haven't seen that one yet? Oh God, I wanted to know your thoughts so bad because it's literally a split movie. And then Bones and All was actually
didn't see that one either.
Movie. Okay, that was my number 1 movie of the year, and then All Quiet on the Western Front too. I loved. So those 3 didn't get any nominations. I absolutely love them. They're in my top 10 of the year. But you know, Babylon is just an excessive, fucking drug fueled, like just crazy ass. It's like if the Wolf of Wall Street was in 1920s Hollywood. I mean, that's the best way I can kind of like throw it at people. I mean, it's not that, but it's that can kind of paint a picture for you. And it's a very loud movie in terms of like the colors and the vibrant nature. The score is one of the best scores I've heard in 20 years by Justin Hurwitz. But it's just a very hypnotic, excessive film that I really took to. I loved it so much. I love Brad Pitt. I love Margot Robbie. So it locked me in. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. And then Bones and All is like, you know, this road trip romance movie, but they're cannibals, you know, and Taylor Russell, Timothy Chalamet, 2 of my favorite young actors in Hollywood right now. Mark Rylance gives a tremendous supporting kind of creepy performance that's kind of lurking in the shadows quite literally in the movie. But yeah, I love those 2 films. They're my top 2 movies of the year, and they didn't get mentions at my own award show. I got to start, Brian. I think I need to start like infiltrating the ballots a little bit.
Stuffing the ballots. Yeah.
Putting my biases on there. I don't know. But there you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the 2023 Golden Peas. This was released as a podcast if you're listening to it on the feed, but we decided to do something a little bit different this year and also release it as a YouTube video and get some of my friends to come in and present the awards. Brian, I appreciate that. Did you appreciate that? That way we don't have to do all the presenting and everything else. We can just kind of talk about the winners.
Absolutely. And it's great to bring the podcasting community into it. And, you know, you said it, but I want to personally, you know, thank your listeners and everyone who voted and everyone who's listening now. It means a lot. And I am honored to be a part of it. So.
Absolutely. I'm going to keep calling on you every year, man, until you just tell me to get lost. But you'll be my Golden Peas co-host for the foreseeable future.
I appreciate that, especially because I don't have a podcast to my name. You know, at the moment, I don't really. I love films with every fiber of my being, and you know, as a career, I work in programming and marketing films. But you know, I don't write as much as I used to. I don't podcast as much as I used to. The other day, Justin asked me to record a Cocaine Bear review, and you know, I just got too much going on, you know, and I feel badly, and I feel like I would love to make a triumphant return to the, you know, podcasting world one day. But the fact that you still believe in me enough, and the fact that you still, you know,
well,
bring me
thank
back
you
time and
for
again, it means a lot.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time because I know it's a lot, man, and thanks for doing it. And it means so much to me. And I just love talking movies with you, and you always bring great insight. And there's oftentimes too when like it was really friendly tonight, but there's oftentimes too when you'll be like, nah, Gerald, you should like that, or why do you like that? Like you'll kind of give it to me, not like but you know what I mean. Like it's a back and forth, right? Sure. So I love hearing different perspectives for sure.
I'm still mad. Your listeners chose Minions: The Rise of Gru. I mean that's the one thing where I'm gonna draw the line in the sand.
Yeah, we got to and to know that Mad God missed because of that too. Yeah, I had to throw that in there. Sorry about that. A little salt in the wound, perhaps. But. So that was the 2023. Yeah, man, that was the 2023 Golden Peas. You guys are the best. Anyone that voted, anyone that shared the link to vote, anyone that is watching this now, like Loy said, or listening to it on the podcast, like you guys are awesome. It means so much, and it's a lot for me to put on this every year. And I really appreciate anybody that tuned in or shared it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of the winners, what ended up winning. The comment section is down below. You know that. Or if you're on the podcast, leave a comment there too, whatever device you're listening on or whatever your service you're listening on. And I will definitely try to respond to as many of those as possible. So on behalf of Loy Sauce, thank you to everybody who tuned in. It means the world. And we will be back next year. I don't know if I'm going to do a video next year or if I'm just going to keep it audio, Brian, but I don't know. One way or another, I'll make sure I tell everyone what the best movies of 2023 were as well. So we'll be back next year to do that. Brian, once again, man, thanks so much for joining me for this.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's the 2023 Golden Peas signing off. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe and do all that stuff. Look down below for the comment section for all of our guest presenters. Thank you so much to all of them as well. And all of their information will be below so you can follow their shows also. All right, guys, we will see you next year.